Welcome to the Kiwi Mana Day. Hi there. This week we are talking about spring, summer, winter bees and high honey prices. This is episode 82 of our Beekeeping podcast. Incidentally, New Zealand's #1 beekeeping podcast.
Absolutely, and the executive producers this month are Graham and Amanda from Auckland in New Zealand. So thanks, guys, for your assistance and help.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you so much.
And it was good to see you the other day.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, well, welcome to the Kiwi Mana Buzz. My name is Gary.
And Margaret.
Yeah, and we are beekeepers from the hills of the Waitakere Ranges in the wild west coast of New Zealand. Our blogs, newsletters and podcasts are about beekeeping, gardening and political issues sometimes, which we'll have a bit more later on in the show, won't we? And where are the show notes?
Yeah, but we've also been known to go off in tangents about other issues too.
Exactly.
Cool bananas. So we're looking for the show notes, and they are
kiwi.bz/82.
And for the Kiwis in our audience, it's kiwi.biz/BZ/82.
That's right. Thank you, Margaret.
You're welcome, Gary.
And a big shout out to our listeners in Victoria in Australia this month. And did you know, Margaret, that Victoria is Australia's most densely populated state?
Did not know that, but glad to hear it.
And speaking of Australia, we got a message from John in Melbourne.
Oh, cheers, John.
Let's take a listen.
Guys, it's John from Melbourne, Australia here. I just wanted to thank you very much for your podcast. I listen to it religiously and really enjoy it. I especially like the interviews you do and the information about Varroa. Luckily, in Australia, we're one of the few countries that doesn't yet have Varroa, but most beekeepers that have been around for a while know that it's only a matter of time till it gets here. So I really enjoy learning a bit about your control techniques, how they don't involve just filling the hives up with chemicals. So thank you. Really enjoy your humour, your knowledge, and your enthusiasm about beekeeping. Keep up the great work.
Wow.
Woohoo! Thanks, John. That's cool.
Yeah, thank you, John, for recording that for us. That's fantastic. And I agree. You're lucky that you don't have Varroa mites in Australia.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's a definite blessing.
Yes, I was speaking to someone else today about that, and they're all trying to learn about it anyway, which is a good idea because when you be prepared if it ever gets to you. So hopefully it never does.
I think that that's a really good point, that, we don't want to have these things, but just being aware of what's going on and what's happening for others sometimes can help us if, things go awry or something appears, and then they'll be able to get onto it really quickly. So, yeah, we're glad you haven't got Varroa, but, appreciate wonderful comments and thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Awesome.
And thank you for everyone for listening this week. It's fantastic you've joined us again. We know life is busy, especially this Christmas time, eh? Everyone's going crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's coming up to the festive season, and so much going on, and we just wish everyone the best and great celebrations.
Absolutely. And we've had some sad news around here lately, haven't we? With the
that's what's happening around at Kiwi Mana, and Gary's got some things that have been on his mind. And what are they, Gary? Please share.
Well, we've had issues with people in Paris getting, all the terrorist attacks. It's been shocking, isn't it?
It has been very shocking, yeah.
And this past week, we've just lost one of our rugby greats, Johnny Lomu.
He's a worldwide giant in the rugby fraternity, that's
Absolutely.
For sure.
So that's very sad.
They had his public funeral today, and there was heaps and heaps of sports people and his teammates and everything there, and it just showed you in what high regard he was held. So it is sad, and our thoughts go out to Jonah's family and his children, and
Absolutely. Very sad. And we had a talk about this the other day, didn't we? Over a cup of coffee.
Yeah, what's this all about, Gary?
Well, we are thinking of there's a new service on the internet called Blab, B-L-A-B.
Blab.
And you can check that out. I'll give you the URL in a minute. But we're just thinking of having a weekly Beekeepers Q&A.
Oh, okay, how's that going to work?
Well, what we'll do is you and me will get up and we'll answer some questions about beekeeping.
Yeah, but how does it work, Gary? You know, how does it work? What do they need to do? Is it easy? Is it hard?
I think it's pretty easy.
Is it live or is it recorded?
It's live.
Is it on the internet or is it on the telephone?
It's on the internet and it's called a service called Blab. It's kind of like a voice conference service. We did have this before using Google Hangouts, but I think a lot of people had trouble connecting to it, and I think it was quite hard to do. So I'm thinking this might be a better option. And just wondering if there's anyone out there that's keen to give it a go or come along. So
how do people get engaged with this? How many people would be able to do it at the one time? And
okay,
more details.
Well, if you're interested, go to kiwimana.co.nz/live, and we'll have a sign up button there to the live chat. And the way it works,
it's a live chat.
Yes,
on the internet.
Yes, and the way it works is that there'll be me and you on there, and possibly someone else. And what we'll do is people can come in and they can ask a question. They can raise their hand and say, "I've got a question."
Raise their hand.
Yeah, and they can either
back to school, guys.
They can either come on live, or they can just use in the chat room and ask us there if they're too shy to do that.
Yeah, there's a few of you out there who are a bit shy, so that's great for that. But check out the. Are you going to put a link on there so people can have a nosy and see if they want to take time to participate, which would be awesome, really.
Yeah, and we'll organise that as soon as we get someone out there, some people that are keen to come along.
Yeah,
and we'll probably also record these so we can play them later if we need to.
Oh, that sounds great, and I'd be really interested to see that. And because it's live, we can sort of get away with quite a bit, can't we? No editing on this one.
No editing on that one. So no swearing, Margaret, or anything like that.
Oh gosh, darn it!
So it's quite a good service. So check out blab.im, and you can have a look there. And I think you've got to have a Twitter account to join it, but that's okay. And I think it's good. So have a look, and you can see people talking about anything all hours of the day. But beekeeping Q&A, any interest?
Yeah.
Check out kiwimana.co.nz/live.
Awesome.
Is summer finally here, I ask?
Oh, yeah. Is it?
I think so. It's pretty hot over the weekend.
What makes you say that, Gary?
Because the other day, the temperature rose on our deck to 38 degrees, didn't it?
I feel the temperatures are rising. I feel summer's on the way.
Okay. And how many degrees is 38 degrees in American talk?
I know. That this is what we have with some of the articles is I put in Celsius, but I think, how do I work it out for overseas?
It's 38 degrees Celsius, and it's 100 Fahrenheit.
Okay.
Is that hot? I think it is.
It is pretty hot. Last week we had the lowest temperature was 7 degrees Celsius, and the highest temperature was 29 degrees Celsius. So we really did have a change in the weather, and then we had a storm, didn't we?
We did, and it had a lot of thunder and lightning. Which was
137 lightning strikes in one evening.
Yes, indeed. And a lot of people were firing off fireworks because it was Guy Fawkes around about that time as well. So
yeah, and that was driving Snow crazy. She just was a bundle of nerves.
Absolutely. And so what's happening with you, Margaret? What have you got to talk about?
Well, I'm pleased to say, folks, that I have calmed down somewhat since last one, and since going bananas. Banana! That's right. And yeah, it's been an interesting last few weeks. We've, finally got over the rugby, and then Gary goes and buys me this ticket to meet Dan Carter. So, the excitement began again, and off we went with my favourite niece to go and see Dan Carter. So that was really awesome, and he's a lovely guy, and got man of the match for the Rugby Union World Cup. So that was awesome, and that was fantastic. Anyway, moving along.
Lawn and apiary care, what's happening there?
Well, I've done my first lawn cutting trim in the apiary, and we're just still working on the repositioning the hives, and the progress on our apiary plans is just moving along, because sometimes when you've been doing it for a while, you need to change your apiary, or you have to look at things a little differently. So we're just moving some hives around and putting our permanent ones back in place and up on hive stands so we keep them dry.
And one fell over, didn't they, in the storm?
Yeah, well, that was because it was just empty boxes, so they got blown around a bit.
Luckily there was no bees. No bees were harmed in that incident.
No bees were harmed in the ensuing storm.
Exactly.
Or was it the past storm?
Well, there's been a bit of flooding, hasn't there? So the few hives have been lost around, but not our ones, luckily.
Not where we are. So we've been very lucky that despite these storms, we've still had power. Everything just kept ticking along, so that was good.
And how are your splits going?
Well, I think it showed me the benefits of keeping records, because then I knew what date they were split, and I knew how long to leave them alone, because that's the problem. You just want to go in and have a look and be impatient and see what's happening, and that often spoils the process. So if you're doing splits, don't interfere with the hive all the time. Just wait the 5 weeks. Anyway, that's when we do our artificial split.
Absolutely, and have good records of all your beekeeping.
Yep. Keep them up so you sort of have some sort of reference. All the deckers have been, the closing was the end of November, so that's all done. The next thing, we can still do beekeeper services to have a look in your hives if you still want that done. What's next?
Gossip about the council.
Oh, yeah, I got a bit of goss, folks.
Ooh.
Yeah, that Auckland Council. Well, there's a staff member there that I believe, in my opinion, based on gossip, that a council staffer picked on an old lady who had bees in her garden, and this person had been living in this property for a long, long time, but there's been a lot of development around where this lady lived, and the impact of that there was a school, a childhood kindergarten school set up there, and they complained about the woman having bees, but the bees were actually their courtesy of a beekeeper. So it wasn't the old lady who had the bees, she was the landowner. So anyway, moving along, long story cut short, she was told to move the hives, so the beekeeper took them away, left one hive there and had 7 nuke boxes, because he was doing some work to try and tidy up the whole lot of them, so that was the remnant. And then the council staffer came along and said, you've got 8 hives here, so you're breaking the rules.
Yeah, crazy, eh? So the trick is to stack all your nuke boxes on top of each other, and so it's one hive.
Well, I think what really annoyed me about this was that they weren't working colonies. They were following the rules under the bylaws, and there is no bylaw to say how many hives you can have. And this poor old lady was getting picked on, and the council staffer knew nothing about bees. Otherwise, he would have realised why those nucleus boxes were there. And I think I know Auckland Council as a whole want to support beekeeping, so that's, I think that council staff needs a bit of a training session.
Absolutely. And what's this about treatment while raising queens? Good idea? Bad idea?
It's a mistake and a trick for young players. Sometimes we see Varroa, and this is, John will be interested in this, is that if you are treating for Varroa, don't do it while you're raising queens. So springtime, when you're actually raising queens, you should not put treatments in. You should do it at the end of around August, before you start splitting, because the split itself is going to give you a break in the Varroa breeding, because you've got a break in the brood cycle while you're raising your queens. So, yeah, and this caused a hive to fail for one of my beginners because they were worried about too many drones and too many Varroa. So that's a tough lesson to learn, that one.
Absolutely, because I think anything that affects the smell of the hive will obviously have an impact on the queen.
Yeah, because her pheromone can't take control.
Yeah.
It's sort of weakened by it, so then they could abscond. And pretty much the other issue that was faced by this beginner was that the bees had swarmed. It looked like they swarmed the first lot, so she lost her original queen, and then they swarmed again. So whether it's because the treatment went in and then they left, and the new queen's in there, but she's not laying too well, so we just have to wait and see if she's okay. Took all the treatments out, and we're giving her another 10 days to see what happens. So, yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, well, good luck with that. So, and you've got here, beginners are starting to focus on their beekeeping endeavours. This
is awesome, man. We have, we've done our courses over the last few years, and it's really cool to see my beginners starting to come of age. They've been doing successful splits. They have been growing some new colonies, and also they're looking at where they want to take their beekeeping. Some of them are deciding to go into commercial beekeeping, so that's going to be a challenge in itself. And then there's others who are going in it for the meadery side of things, and that's very exciting. And what else are they going into? Just growing bees and selling nukes. So well done, you guys. And yeah, it's very exciting to see my beginners coming of age.
You're like a proud
very
mother.
Very emotional, you know how it is.
Proud mother.
Proud
exactly.
Mum.
And Christmas gifts. Christmas is coming up, so we have some great gifts for your beekeeping friends. And what have you secured a great price on a book?
Boy, have I what. And this is the Practical Beekeeping Guide, and we'll put it out in the newsletter that we are having this one on sale, so you will be able to purchase it online, and it's normally around $50, and we're selling it for $37. Yes, you heard it here first, folks.
Wow.
$37, man.
I wish we'd bought our first copy at that price. No, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's all good. And, we hope you take advantage of that if you need it for yourself, or, a friend of yours is taking up beekeeping. It's a great book. So it's New Zealand. So it's absolutely relevant for our community. And, yes, calm has been restored at Kiwimana for a short time, and,
yeah,
for a short time.
Until Christmas.
And then we're going bananas. Anyway, Rod's Bees. Well, who is he? He's our elderly beekeeper who is a cabinet maker. He's 84 years old, and we have been showing you, giving you links to some of his photos of this hive that we caught a swarm for him, and it's just going bananas and absolutely awesome. And we just split the colony, and then we were taking the colony to his daughter's place.
Oh, yes.
And, yes, we dropped the hive. Yeah, that's right, we did. Even...
Not me, listeners.
No, not Gary. And Margaret didn't actually. So
No.
My helper just...
you were innocent.
Tripped over, so yeah. But I was worried because Rod's designed it so that the bees raise their own comb. So it wasn't really old comb at all, and it was Langstroth width, but... so it was wider than what you'd get in a top bar, and he put a dowel in the middle, and the dowel obviously worked because when we dropped the colony, I just left it for a week and went in, and they had already started fixing things, but there she was, the queen, alive and well, and the bees were awesome. So, yeah, it happens to all of us, it's just what you do about it. That's where you find your strength, folks.
Absolutely, and I'm shocked by this next thing. You've got yummy scones with lashings of jam and butter. I was never part of this. I'm disappointed, Wendy, that you didn't invite me for this lashings of jam.
Well, there was invitations, but, sometimes I have to do the work for Kiwi Mana, and with that comes the gifts.
You could always bring some of those home.
Oh, there weren't any left.
Yeah.
Well, at least that's my excuse.
I wonder why. Anyway,
Yeah.
So what's this? And Rod's
Okay, just sharing my thanks to, the people that I see during the day and who help me, and thanks to Wendy for her yummy scones with lashings of jam and butter. Yum yum. And to Suzanne for a cuppa on her deck and chocolate marshmallows. I know, you're all jealous. I know that. And Rod, he made me, he did some striking of some calendula seedlings for me. And
what's calendula?
Calendula is a flower.
Okay.
So he struck some seeds for me, and I'll send a photo once they start to get a bit bigger.
Yeah. So
I'm very grateful for that. And an experience which I thoroughly enjoyed was a new beginner beekeeper coming to our apiary to have a look at his colony, his brand new colony. Very excited about it. And he brought his young daughter with him, teenage daughter, Victoria. So it was Mark and Victoria, and we were in there working the hive. And you know what? It really reminded me of why we do what we do.
Okay. That was good. And because is Victoria really into it?
She is so excited about the bees now, and we're looking forward to her just learning and becoming part of this, and it'll be something that they can share together. And watching both their faces, you should have seen their smiles, man, from ear to ear. So it was awesome. It was awesome. And,
it's great to see young people into bees. We've got a story about that later coming up as well, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
News.
And a final thank you to Jim for bringing me lunch the other day. Sometimes I don't have time, and then there you go. You get a gift. And thank you so much, folks.
Wow, that's fantastic. Thanks, everyone, for helping Margaret have lunch and stuff and bring those scones round. But just remember that...
a bit of weight, by the way, guys.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's okay.
That's okay.
Don't stop.
Okay, well, let's...
Okay, what's next, Gary?
Don't you mean what's next, Kevin?
Oh, I just had a Kevin moment.
Yeah, I had a Kevin moment.
Yeah, me too.
I was walking down the street and I thought for myself, no, I'm just kidding, Kevin. I don't have Kevin moments.
Don't you? Anyway, what's next, Kevin?
Okay. Let's move on to blog recap. Blog recap, we recap the last 3 blog posts.
The last 3 top blog
posts. Yes, but last month was only 2 posts, so they're all top.
Top of the morning to you.
So sorry about that, guys. I've been very busy. Been busy doing beekeeping. Not much blog posting.
Yeah, that happens with beekeepers, especially when it's the bee season.
Absolutely. And the first one is End of the Spring World Cup. This is our episode 80, where we talk about the Rugby World Cup and many other bee stories.
Yeah, we've calmed down a little since then.
We've had some good feedback, haven't we?
Yeah, and we also had no customers coming while we were recording today's one, so that's a blessing, and no interruptions to transmission.
Well, yet. Anyway, we had John from Melbourne, who we heard from before. He says, loving your podcast number 80. Your mystery caller sounds a lot like Morgan Freeman. You heard it from me first. And, in a similar vein, Beth from Badass Bees. Was that a swear word? No, it's all right. Is that Morgan Freeman on your voicemail? Actor turned recent beekeeper. Great podcast as usual. Thanks for all your hard work and sharing knowledge.
Yeah, I reckon someone's been messing with us, don't you? Don't you reckon?
I think so.
Yeah, could be.
It did sound a bit like Morgan Freeman, but you'd have to...
And, if that is you, Morgan, we thank you so much for sharing your voice with our group.
Absolutely. And if you ever want to come on the show, get in touch.
We'd love to see you, and, we hope.
We do. I hear the actual Morgan Freeman has actually got a whole lot of bees, isn't he? He's bought a big little land and got heaps of beehives. So
awesome.
He'll be getting into it next summer. And the next podcast we talked about is from Rusty Burlew from the voice behind Honey Bee Sweet. And we interviewed Rusty a while back, and here's an excerpt from that podcast.
Every beekeeper is different, and I try to keep that in mind. And everyone lives in a different climate with different forage and different beekeeping challenges. But those aren't the only differences.
No, they are not.
Yes, well done, Rusty. That's a very good point, and that's something I've always tried to teach my students, that, we all deal with a different microclimate. We have a locality area which has its own weather and climatic impacts. We have our own country which impacts on our climate as well. So we've got all these things that we need to deal with, and like we've said before, in the South Island you're going to be doing things a little different than you are in the North Island, particularly if you live in, say, Stewart Island. And then you come to Auckland and West Auckland, we have a really wet climate. Then over the North Shore, they have different heat systems coming through because of the coastal thing happening for them on the east coast. So, yeah, good on you, Rusty. That's very good.
Yeah, so check out that podcast at kiwi.bz/Rusty.
Awesome.
And now, news. Kiwimana News you can use. And we head off to the first fantastic article. The largest Australian nature discovery project finds 4 new bee species. 4 new native species have been discovered as part of the nature discovery project called the Bush Blitz by South Australian bee specialists.
Okay, well, 4 new native bee species were recognised as part of the largest Australian nature discovery project, Bush Blitz. The South Australian bee specialists used molecular and morphological evidence to prove them as new. So this is an interesting find.
This is awesome. So we've got 4 new native species in Australia of bees.
I loved it. They've got a photo of one of them and their face is like, looks like the alien from that Alien movie. Really long face. So, yeah, read this article, guys. It's wonderful to see that, there's still stuff out there that we don't know a lot about. So, yeah.
Oh, that's good to hear some good news, eh?
Absolutely. I think we need good news at the moment. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world which is a bit painful, but hearing things like that, it's awesome.
Absolutely, and we're coming on to another story from the Bay of Plenty, New Zealand. High honey prices creates problems in the Bay of Plenty, and they believe out-of-town corporates are hoping to make millions from bees are causing issues in the Coromandel area of New Zealand, creating risks of undernourished and possibly spreading diseases in the area. And beekeepers are struggling with hive losses and increased land rental for some good bee yards.
Yeah, this is saying that because there's this big thing with Manuka that it's sort of making people not look after their bees properly. They're overcrowding the land. They're just all they're focused on is getting honey, and they're not necessarily doing good best practice in beekeeping. The beekeeper hygiene is probably a big issue as well, and now they're looking at disease coming in, and it's really causing a problem. So read this article, guys. This is really relevant to what's going on in the Coromandel of New Zealand. And, I must say that I have noticed that last year there was huge amounts of AFB recorded in some areas where it wasn't that bad. And now it's getting really prevalent. So I think there's some merit to the comments in here.
Absolutely. If you're in the Coromandel area, please leave a comment on this one here. It's kiwi.bz/82. Are you having trouble with your bees at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, it is a concern, and I think that greed is probably the driver behind a lot of this, and it breaks my heart because it's the bees that will suffer.
Absolutely.
This is a good one, this next one. It's Preschoolers Bee Bowl Tackles Drowning Problem. So this is a very small article and really just about acknowledging Bee Week that the MBA has run. And Geraldine hobbyist beekeeper Gavin Oliver visits a Timaru kindergarten. Well done to you, Timaru Kindergarten, and is teaching the children about honeybees. And it's always, it's always good to hear that the kids are being made aware, and always great news to see young people being introduced to bees. And good on you, Gavin, for doing this. So awesome.
Absolutely. So shout out there to Gavin Oliver. Thanks, Gavin, for spending that time with the kids. It's awesome.
And it shows Rona Day kindergarten head teacher Bev O'Connor with 4-year-old Ticky's creation, the bee bowl. And he made a bee bowl and put stones in it so that the bees could stand on the stones and drink water from the bowl without drowning, because, they have short legs and drown in too much water. Awesome.
Absolutely. And we had some feedback from our great listeners.
Yeah, thanks for that, Ticky.
Yep, thanks, Ticky. Ants McGlee, they said, that's what I do with chicken feeders as well. So do many others.
Yeah, and Rita James said, and put some apple cider vinegar in to help the mites. And I think that relates back to what they're saying over in the Coromandel, that they're trying to do some different kinds of bee feeds. And what else comes to mind when I think of what she's saying is the mushrooms, that article we talked about in the last podcast. And thanks, Ants, and thanks, Rita, for your comments. We really appreciate hearing from you, and thanks for taking time out to get that to us. Awesome.
Absolutely. And speaking of alternative feeding, that last story about Coromandel, they're actually feeding the bees seaweed. Interesting, eh?
Yeah, it is. And, I still believe that having a dirty water bowl with dirt and leaf litter and bits of stuff like that is really good for bees. And we talked about that last week as well, that there's a lot of minerals in there that the bees might not be able to get just by having fresh chlorinated water, because that's not necessarily the right thing for the bees. So, just switch off the human thing and just think about the logic of giving them chlorinated water or fluoridated water. Okay, so that's my handy hint for the week. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. It is funny that the bees sometimes often go for water from pools, because it's full of chlorine.
It's about time we heard some music, isn't it? Give me some blues, Gary. And it's all cool here at Kirimana HQ. Thanks for joining in. We appreciate you.
And the next story.
Oh, this is great. 10 reasons, well, it's not great. Anyway, 10 reasons beehives die in the winter from keeping backyard bees.
That's right. This is from an article from Keeping Backyard Bees, and they're a North American magazine or blog.
You just keep that in mind, folks. This is from overseas.
Yes, absolutely. It's written by Melissa Cohey, and she's at Tiller's Nest on the Twitters. And
Tilly's Nest.
Who she actually follows the Kiwimana Buzz, so that's good.
Yeah. She says, with some reasons why bees die over winter and what you can do to stop it. And here are some of the reasons, and it just will give you an understanding. Some of these things are starvation.
Absolutely. Always make sure your bees have got plenty of stores. Yeah,
excess moisture, temperature fluctuations, weak hive going into winter.
Yep.
And what else, Gary?
Strong winds. Never have your entrance of your hive facing into the prevailing winds. Ill or infested hive, that's probably with varroa mites or wax moth or any other kind of pest you've got in your area.
Which sort of connects to the weak hive thing, eh?
And what's this replace the comb?
I think that's one of the things that she's talking about in here is that I think particularly over in America is that a lot of the comb there has got lots of chemicals in it, like insecticides, herbicides, fungicides.
Varroa treatments.
Yeah, all sorts of things like that, which, the bees, she says that when they're foraging, they pick up all these things and then they bring it home to the hive. So in New Zealand, we do recommend about every 3 years. She's saying every 2 years, so to replace the comb.
Absolutely. So. And as a company that supplies foundation, we recommend every week. Just kidding.
Kirimana plug.
And the next one is failure to clear off entrances. That's if your entrance gets full of like debris or snow, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think she's talking about the copious amounts of snow that falls, and I guess it could sort of dampen the hive and also give them no opportunity to go out and do their cleansing flights.
Well, they actually find that snow is actually a good insulator, actually, when they put it around the hives. It's really bizarre. Because I saw a photo today from one of our listeners in Oregon, and his hives are already under a foot of snow.
Do they, I suppose when it falls, it's not as wet, but as the temperatures start to change, then you'd have to keep it off the hive, wouldn't you? Because as it starts to melt, it would make the hive quite wet.
Yeah, it would. It'd be like a big bucket of water, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and here's an issue that we don't have so much of. Well, I've never experienced it to any severe degree, is a failure to install mouse guards.
Yeah, I've never actually... I have seen mice in hives, but only ones that have been, in the garage, not ones that have been out in the field.
I know that on the inspection boards, one mouse got up onto the inspection board, but all you see is a bit of mouse feces, but nothing else, because they couldn't get in because of the stainless steel mesh, so they couldn't get through that.
No, that's pretty hard to chew through that stuff.
Yeah, I reckon. And the other one is failure to check your bees in winter. And there's this, because I made it really clear at the beginning, this is not a local New Zealand article, and this article may be more relevant to those of you who are down in the South Island, because there are things that you may be experiencing that they are experiencing over in North America. So, we hope that's helpful to you. And what's the quote there, Dale?
Now is the time to begin preparing your beehives for a successful overwintering. During winter, instead of foraging for and storing food, the focus of the hive is to overwinter the queen. Successfully overwintering the queen ensures the hive's survival for next spring. Honeybees during this time will cluster around the queen only to break the cluster during warmer days, mid-40s, for cleansing flights and to move the cluster closer to food stores. Yeah, this is a good article. And the one we should go is failing to check the bees in winter. When it's a hot day, like in the mid-40s, it says here, go and see if the bees are coming and going and flying. Because even on like the hottest of days of winter, they will probably still fly to go to the toilet and go on bathroom breaks and stuff like that. So if you see all your hives are flying at that day and this one hive isn't, you probably have got an issue there, haven't you? Bathroom break, boss. That's it.
Okay, and this is a great article. Have a look at this. Also remember that all the microclimate rules apply, and you need to work out what's good for you. One
Absolutely.
of the things that she doesn't talk about keeping your hives up off the ground. So, my question would be, okay, here we keep all our hives up off the ground. Wouldn't it be relevant for them to keep their hives up off the ground? But
I think so. Yeah,
it's not mentioned, but that's my thought on that one. So well done.
We shall mention it to her.
Yeah, thanks, Melissa. That's a great article. And
absolutely, this is a big shout out here to Sarah and Will from Sentiama Homestead, who mentioned us on their podcast, and this will be good article for you guys with your bees over there.
Okay,
and
who was that again?
Will and Sarah.
Will and Sarah. Thanks, Will and Sarah. Awesome.
And unfortunately, Sarah's lost her wedding ring in the garden. So I was thinking
I wonder if she's got chickens.
She has. I'm just thinking they could use a metal detector to find it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Anyway, let's move on to a sad
hey,
article.
what about a magpie?
Yeah, but that would just put it in its nest.
Well, you just tie a string to its beak, walk it around the yard, and hopefully it would find it. Because they like shiny things, don't they?
It's true. That's another good idea, Will and Sarah, but I think a metal detector would be better.
And, of course, no harming these animals in the search for the jewellery.
Yes. Absolutely. Tangent over.
Awesome. Oh, that was wonderful. We just,
Okay.
Okay, well, this one, as Gary said,
This is shocking.
Yeah, very sad article. And as soon as I started reading this, it's a long article, and I think it's extremely frightening. I also think it's a reflection of conflict of interest when a chemical company uses their own scientific research to back the results to use these products, which are obviously not healthy.
And what's this article called?
This article is called Argentina, the country that Monsanto poisoned. A shocking article from Anonymous about the state of farming practices in Argentina.
And Argentina has become the third largest soybean producer, and with nearly 100% being genetically modified. And this has actually brought in about $65 billion since they started doing this, hasn't it?
Yeah, and it seems bizarre that it's since 1996. And when I think about the historical development of the varroa mite, it all seems to coincide. That's my view.
Yeah, okay. And pesticides are being used in the country, and it's apparently contrary to the existing laws, but I don't think the laws are being enforced.
Yeah, it appears to me that there are laws there, but people are turning a blind eye. According to this article, it talks about there's certain restrictions or certain application methods, and these methods, they're being sort of used to deflect the fact that this stuff is poisoning the ground and people.
Absolutely, because what it is, it's soybeans, and they're genetically modified to withstand Roundup, a product by our friends at Bayer. And what they're doing is they're spraying these crops 2 to 4 times during their life cycle to kill all the weeds around the crops.
Yeah, so it's not actually for the crops themselves, it's actually to kill the weeds, but because they're using this product, the article goes on to say that it's causing resistance in those weeds. So those weeds are getting stronger and stronger and harder to manage because of these chemicals used. So the article is quite alarming. It says here, the American biotechnology has turned Argentina into the world's third largest soybean producer. But the chemicals powering the boom aren't confined to soy and cotton and cornfields. They routinely contaminate homes and classrooms and drinking water. A growing chorus of doctors and scientists is warning that their uncontrolled use could be responsible for the increasing number of health problems turning up in hospitals across the South American nation in the heart of Argentina's soybean business. House-to-house surveys of 65,000 people in farming communities found cancer rates 2 to 4 times higher, oh my goodness, than the national average, as well as higher rates of hypothyroidism and chronic respiratory illnesses. Associated Press photographer Natasha Pizarenko spent months documenting the issue in farming communities across Argentina. This article will blow your mind, guys, and we don't want that here.
No, and there's also a really good documentary. It's actually done by a Dutch television station and called Zimbler. It's actually in Dutch, but it's got English subtitles. And there's a link on the show notes to that as well, which is really good. And that movie is called Why Monsanto is Responsible for Thousands of Sick Children
in Argentina.
Because it's causing a lot of birth defects and a lot of cancer issues with children. So it's
anyway, guys, before you go to your garden centre and you buy glyphosate or Roundup or Armatraz or Zero or whatever you buy for your garden, think twice, man, because this article is just showing you what could happen here.
You know, to be honest with you, I think what's happening here in Argentina, from what that documentary was showing, is that the farmers are mixing a lot of chemicals together to make stronger chemicals because, as Margaret said, the weeds are becoming tolerant to Roundup.
Well, the article states that that's what's happening, and so the farmers are justifying it by using these other chemicals, but illegally it's being ignored, or someone's turning a blind eye because it's not under the law what they should be doing. So why? And is it money? Is it money? Are they getting, lots of money for doing this? I don't know.
Well, in that documentary, the Minister of, the Minister of Science or something, he said that the actual $65 billion they've got since they've started doing this has actually taken the economy out of the doldrums. So it's been a very good boost for Argentina's economy.
Well,
So, I mean, I'm
work it out yourself, guys, but this article really does create a bit of awareness and, think about stuff. Be the consumer. Look at whether you want to buy products that have corn in them, maize, what else?
Well, the shocking thing that the Dutch documentary showed was that this feed is used for animal feed, isn't it? And that's been fed to people.
I mean, this is the thing. Why are you feeding this sort of stuff to cows? Cows eat grass. Sheep eat grass. I mean, what the heck is this all about? Anyway, be a strong consumer. Maybe use a bit of elbow grease instead of some poison from the shelf.
Absolutely. So I encourage you to have a look at that video, guys. It's really interesting, and read that article. So thanks for posting that.
Yeah, guys, so that's all the serious stuff over and done with. We're moving along.
Let's have questions from you. Questions from you.
Okay.
Alina writes.
Oh, okay. I thought that was my turn.
No, you're answering it.
Oh, I'm answering. Okay.
We want to swap 3/4 depth boxes with plastic frames that a neighbour has loaned us to half-depth wooden boxes. Don't take the bait. How and when would you go about doing this? This would be a difficult task, wouldn't it? So 3/4 depth boxes to. Oh look,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No,
the first part of the question takes me back to the word used in this is loaned. That our neighbour has loaned us some plastic frames that have been loaned. Okay, that just my alarm bells going off in my head.
As long as they are from a disease-free hive, all is well.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, the first thing I'd say is that if you want to do this kind of thing, it's not a quick process. It's a very slow process. Don't use stuff borrowed from other people, in my view, unless that has never been in a hive, that you can 100% guarantee there is no wax on there that is infected with anything. So if they're brand new frames, yeah, go for it.
So how would they do it?
It's a very slow process, and if you're doing it, you'd probably take a season to do it, in my view, and you would always work from the outside for your brood side of things, and from the middle, if you're doing honey, changing honey frames over. So with the honey frames, you always want the capped honey on the sides, then you've got your nectar, and then in the middle, you put in your new wooden frames or whatever size you want, and you will get a bit of comb growing underneath that the bees will put on. You just have to keep trimming that off, but that's not a long-term issue.
Yeah, that's how I'd probably do it. Just replace the ones that are totally empty right now, and you just have that comb at the bottom, and then eventually just get rid of all the 3/4 as you go, as the hive gets bigger, eh?
You can always use the longer ones and put the smaller ones in, and as I said, they will probably draw underneath it, but you just keep managing that and trimming it when you're going to put it into the new colony. And never put new frames in the middle of the brood. Always work the brood replacement frames from the side. Sometimes doing this in spring is a good idea because then you can put a box above, move some of the brood into the box you want them to go into and change it that way. But if this is all about honey supers or whatever, a lot of people keep their brood boxes quite big.
Okay, and Jane asked, I hope that answers your question,
Well, that's my question, sweetie, that if this is about changing your honey supers or is this about your brood box? So I think, there's two different ways to deal with it.
Absolutely.
For both.
Yeah, I don't know. We didn't get that answer.
No.
Well, give us a call, Alina, if you're still confused. We'll talk you through that.
Yeah.
And Jane writes,
we've managed to successfully split, and now we have 2 hard-working hives. Well done, Jane. That's awesome. Fantastic. Now they're with a huge nectar flowing in, and how does she manage it, she's asking.
Add supers.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And I think probably if the split is quite weak or the older queen is, still building up again, try and leave them a box of honey for winter so that the split gets through winter, because it's going to be a new colony and it probably needs all that food. And the nectar flow is always what we just talked about before, is that if you want to put, new frames in, when you're working with a honey super, always add in the middle and keep moving your capped honey out to the side. And you have to add extra boxes, of course, as well.
Yes, those hives we looked at in the weekend, they were just pumping, weren't they?
Yeah, and I think that preparation is the key. Understanding the seasons is a really good idea, and how that a lot of the processes that we do with our bees does take time. So just have patience. Try and think about things before they happen rather than wait till later. So well done for your split, and now you've got to manage the next step in summer, and that is the nectar flow.
Yep, absolutely. And we've got a question from London. London is calling. Let's play this.
Hi, it's Jane here from London, England. Can you please describe what a queen excluder is?
Absolutely, we can. Jane, you need to cheer up a bit. Anyway, we appreciate your message, Jane. It's all good. We will explain what a queen excluder is.
I think we need to back up from that, and I think we should read out Jane's question.
Jane is asking what a queen excluder is.
Yeah, a queen excluder is used for basically confining the queen, excluding her from above or below or wherever you want to exclude her from. The premise behind using a queen excluder is to absolutely control where she is laying her brood. It also can mean that you can use her when you're doing an artificial split, when we've got the split method on our website, and that is when we use it. We don't use it any other time. So a queen excluder is like a metal grill that is put into the hive, and it has a frame around it, so you've got a nice good bee space. Don't buy a queen excluder without a frame around it, because it squashes bees and it doesn't give enough room for the bees to be able to go over and above the frames.
No bee space. So hopefully they've got those in London. I'm sure they have, with the metal wooden frame around them.
Yeah, they do come in plastic, but I find that those ones get so clogged up. They're really awful to use, and I stick with metal. The bees don't do it as much, and if you want to clean them, you take them out of the hive first, and you can either scrape it all off or use boiling water to melt the wax and just put some newspaper underneath to capture the wax.
Absolutely.
And, so a queen excluder is used for excluding the queen from areas in the hive you don't want her going.
Yep, thanks, Jane, for your message. And if you've got
Awesome!
If you've got a message, we've got a speak pipe thing on our website on the right-hand side, or the link is in the show notes. So thanks for doing that.
Yeah, and thanks to those of you who've left messages. And I think, I think it's been an awesome month. And this is our last podcast for before Christmas, because our festive season is coming upon us very quickly. And summer is officially here, so we are so busy, man.
Absolutely. Let's move on. Okay, and this month we have a great new patron.
Kevin moment.
What's Kevin? Okay, yes.
Be our patron using Patreon. This month we have these great new supporters. These are our executive producers, and you could be one too.
Absolutely. Our recent patron is Jennifer from Sea Willow Herbs, and you can check out Jennifer's blog at seawillowherbs.blogspot.com. And she's really into herbs and stuff, and she's been talking to me about... I've mentioned some herbs to her that bees love, so she's going to try and plant those. It's going to be awesome.
Awesome, and thanks for choosing to support Kiwi Mana by becoming our patron, Jennifer. Awesome, and all the best with your sea willow herb.
Herbs, absolutely, fantastic.
Okay, and what other ways can you support, or do you support Kiwi Mana? Well, it's easy peasy. You can buy our bees, you can take our beekeeping courses, you can buy our beekeeping gear and tools. You can hire us to help you manage your hive and have one-to-one support. You can join our free, I say, newsletter. Easy peasy, guys, and thank you for all your support.
Absolutely. And speaking of your support, we have feedback from you guys, and we had a great review from iTunes from Tramper Ted. I appreciate the energy and effort you put into this podcast. 5 stars. Great work, team. Awesome. I love how you have improved the quality of the presentation, and bananas to you.
Banana!
To
That's
you guys
especially
too.
for you guys, so thanks for that, Tramper
Absolutely,
Ted.
and we hope your hives are going well. We heard a rumour that you've lost your queen, so we're hoping that we're sending good vibes to you guys.
Yes, and just know that this is the start of a very long journey, and as a beginner, these things happen, and next year you will do things differently.
Yep, exactly. The start of a long journey where the ending is uncertain.
That's right. But we have hope,
We always have hope.
and hope is the best of things.
Spring's eternal.
Okay, well, we got a phone call from Debbie in New Zealand,
Oh,
and
yeah, this
she
was great.
said, this is great. She says, love the work you do, enjoy the newsletter, and can't believe how much work you do for us. Thanks.
Wow, thanks, Debbie. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much, and, you guys are the reason why we do this, so we appreciate your time, and we love your support, and we're so glad you did come and join us today, and awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. All your feedback, it's like little battery charges for us. It makes us move faster. It's great.
Yeah, so we welcome you to the Kiwi Mana Buzz, every month, and yeah, we're so glad that you're making some value with us. So
Absolutely.
awesome. What's next, Gary?
The Kiwi Mana Buzz just is made possible by our great supporters and our amazing patrons who value what we do. If you value what we do, please consider supporting us with what you think we are worth to you. And so if you want to support us, you can visit us at kiwi.bz/banana to learn more about how to help the buzz.
So what is it? Where do they visit, Gary?
kiwi.bz/banana.
And for you New Zealanders out there, it's kiwi.bz/banana.
Or visit our main page and click on the Patreon logo.
Yeah, awesome.
Well, I would like to wish you and your families a great Christmas, and I really appreciate you guys making it to the end of this long show. And we hope you have a great Christmas. We may have a little special Christmas closer to the time.
Yeah, we may do little greeting in the meantime, but we just wish you all the very, 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 very best festive season ever, I say. Those of you who are roasting chestnuts by the fire, have a wonderful time with your family, and those of you who are having a bit of a saucy on the barbie, we hope you have a great time, and we're just going to be out there chilling, and we'll be having our own barbie and catching up with our family. So
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you next year.
Yep. Have a safe and great Christmas.
Healthy, keep safe. Just, take care, guys, and thanks for joining the Kiwi Mana Buzz.
Joy to the world. Do, do, do. You're not going to sing?